Have you ever been absolutely sure about something only to find out you were wrong, but others remember it the same way? That's what the Mandela Effect is all about. Coined in 2010 by Fiona Broome, a paranormal researcher, it refers to when groups of people share the same false memory, like a brand name being spelled differently or an event happening that never actually did. Some believe it's proof that our reality is shifting, and a few even point fingers at the Large Hadron Collider in Switzerland, claiming its experiments might be messing with the fabric of our world. From the North Pole's surprising secrets to crispy snacks and legendary music logos, we're unpacking the 10 weirdest Mandela Effect mysteries. Evolution of crisp flavors. What makes a humble snack rise to iconic status and win the hearts of an entire nation? Walker Crisps, called chips in the United States, stands out as one of the UK's favorite snack brands, rich with history, creative twists, and a hint of intrigue. Founded by Henry Walker in 1848 in England, it joined the Frito-Lay family under PepsiCo in 1989. So what's the story behind its rise to fame? Right after World War II, things were tough. Post-war rationing left the Walker family's Leicester factory struggling to keep up production. Faced with this challenge, Henry Walker had to think creatively. He observed the growing demand for potato crisps in the UK and decided to try his luck. Thinly sliced potatoes were slated for taste and packed into bags, sold for only 3p each. This simple idea sparked a revolution in snacking. As the business grew, Walker introduced a bold slogan: "Potato crisps by Walkers, guaranteed absolutely pure." Back then, the only flavor available was salted and plain, but everything changed in 1954. That's when rationing came to an end and cheese and onion flavors appeared for the first time. It became an instant favorite, paving the way for more adventurous flavors in the 1960s and 1970s, including salt and vinegar, prawn cocktails, and roast chicken. These flavors weren't random. They were inspired by British staples like fish and chips, classic prawn cocktail starters, and the traditional Sunday roast. By the 1980s, Walker Crisps had cemented its place in British culture. In 1984, football star Gary Lineker became the face of the brand. To celebrate, they even temporarily renamed Salt and Vinegar Crisps to Salt and Lineker, a playful nod to the athlete. Fast forward to today, and the Walker factory in Leicester remains the largest crisp production facility on the planet. Think about this. The average Briton eats around 150 packs of crisps each year. That's a lot of crunching. But Walker didn't stop innovating. In 2016, they introduced crisp flavors inspired by classic British sandwiches. Options like cheese toasty with Worcester sauce, sausage and brown sauce, bacon and tomato ketchup, and even cucumber and salad cream hit the shelves. Despite their success, Walkers found themselves at the center of a peculiar Mandela Effect debate. Many loyal fans swear the brand once used green packets for cheese and onion and blue for salt and vinegar. But Walker insists this never happened. In fact, when one man emailed to ask about the supposed switch, he was shocked to learn the company maintained the colors had always been the same. Determined to prove otherwise, he and others scoured the internet but came up empty-handed. The Jumpman Chronicles. Ever noticed how the Air Jordan logo, a silhouette of Michael Jordan mid-air, has become one of the most iconic symbols in sports and fashion? The story behind it is just as fascinating as the man himself. Back in November 1984, designer Peter Moore created the first Air Jordan basketball shoe exclusively for Nike and Michael Jordan. By 1985, these sneakers were available to the public and quickly transformed from just basketball shoes into global fashion statements. But did you know Michael Jordan initially wanted to sign with Adidas, not Nike? Yep, Jordan told his agent he'd choose Adidas if their offer was anywhere near Nike's. But Adidas didn't come through, and the rest is history. What if Adidas had closed the deal? How different might sports history be? The Air Jordan name was coined by David Falk, Jordan's agent, while Moore sketched the logo in a spontaneous moment of genius. When Jordan first saw the sketches of the red and black Air Jordans, his reaction: "I can't wear that shoe. Those are the devil's colors." He was likely referring to the University of North Carolina's rival, North Carolina State, whose team colors are red and white. Kind of funny, considering those colors are now iconic. When the Air Jordan 1 hit the market at $65, a hefty price tag back then, some people thought they wouldn't sell. But as Jordan's NBA stardom skyrocketed, so did the popularity of the shoes. By the time the Air Jordan 2 came around, it was a game changer. Designed without the Nike swoosh, it focused more on style and comfort, even taking inspiration from luxury women's boots. Fun fact, the Air Jordan 2 was the only version made in Italy, giving it a sleek, high-end vibe. Fast forward to 1988, when Jordan's contract with Nike was set to expire. With Moore and Nike exec Rob Strasser gone, Jordan was thinking of jumping ship. But then he saw the Air Jordan 3, featuring the now legendary Jumpman logo. That design sealed the deal, and Jordan stuck with Nike. Can you imagine the sneaker world without the Jumpman? Speaking of the Jumpman logo, here's where things get a little strange. Recently, people started claiming they remembered the silhouette wearing basketball shorts in the logo. But in reality, the figure is dressed in sweatpants. This Mandela Effect moment has left fans scratching their heads. Maybe they're thinking of all those posters of Jordan flying through the air in shorts, about to slam dunk. Funk pioneer who defied memory. George Clinton, a legend in the world of funk music, has left an unforgettable mark on the industry. But in a strange twist, he's also become part of a Mandela Effect mystery. Some fans are convinced they heard news of his passing back in 2017, only to discover he's alive and still rocking stages. Confusing, right? Let's break it down. Born in Kannapolis, North Carolina in 1941, Clinton grew up in Plainfield, New Jersey. As a teenager, he formed a doo-wop group called the Parliaments while working at a local barbershop, Silk Palace. Clinton's knack for creativity wasn't limited to music. He was known for straightening hair and chatting about his musical dreams. With inspiration from artists like Jimi Hendrix, James Brown, and Frank Zappa, the Parliaments evolved into the legendary Parliament Funkadelic in the 1960s. Ever wonder how much the vibe of a small-town barbershop influenced a global funk revolution? During the 60s and 70s, Clinton and his crew produced a staggering number of hits, 40 in total, with 3 reaching #1. By the 80s, Clinton embarked on a solo career and joined forces with Capitol Records and the P-Funk All-Stars. His talent wasn't just in creating his own music, he also worked with legends like Bootsy Collins and produced Freaky Styley for the Red Hot Chili Peppers, who were thrilled to have their idol shape their sound. Clinton's impact extended far beyond funk. Hip-hop and rap artists have repeatedly sampled his work, keeping his influence alive in modern music. But Clinton wasn't just a musician, he also dabbled in acting. He appeared in movies like Graffiti Bridge and Good Burger, and even voiced characters in shows like Space Ghost Coast to Coast and the radio station Bounce FM in Grand Theft Auto, San Andreas. Who knew the Funkmaster had so many talents? Now, back to the Mandela Effect. A Reddit user recently sparked a debate after reading an article about Clinton's plans to tour again. They swore they'd heard about his death in 2017, as did others who chimed in. Some even remembered seeing tributes from fellow artists. But here's the reality. George Clinton is very much alive and still making waves in the music scene. Ribcage Mystery. Ever wondered why people are suddenly questioning how their organs are arranged? It's an odd thing to think about, right? We've been learning about our bodies since grade school, so you'd think this stuff is pretty set in stone. But lately, a curious trend has emerged. People online are claiming that their bodies don't feel the same as they used to, as if their organs have shifted somehow. What's going on here? Let's rewind a bit. The first person to really dig into human anatomy, literally, was a Renaissance physician named Andreas Vesalius. Born in 1514, Vesalius revolutionized the medical field with his meticulous studies of the human body. Did you know he was the first to sketch an accurate diagram of human anatomy? He even wrote the first ever comprehensive textbook on the subject, thanks to observations he made during dissections he performed himself. Coming from a family of pharmacists and doctors, Vesalius trained in Paris, where he got hands-on experience with dissection. Back then, bones were often collected from local cemeteries. Talk about dedication to science. His expertise earned him a position as a lecturer in surgery, where he would perform live anatomy demonstrations. By 1543, Vesalius published his groundbreaking book, the 7 books on the structure of the human body. It was a game changer, featuring detailed illustrations of organ placement and human biology. His accomplishments didn't go unnoticed. The Roman Emperor Charles V appointed him as his household physician, a prestigious role that brought Vesalius wealth, a noble title, and even a lifetime pension. Later, he relocated to Spain and took on the role of a physician for the Madrid royal court. His contributions to medicine and surgery were monumental, but his life ended in mystery. There are claims that he fell critically ill on his way from Jerusalem to Europe and was left on Zakynthos, a Greek island. True or not, Vesalius's legacy remains unmatched, so why the confusion? Online, people say they were taught that organs like the kidneys are located in different spots than they appear in anatomy charts today. Some claim their kidneys aren't where they were taught they should be, or that their ribs seem to be positioned differently. Have you ever heard terms like true ribs or false ribs? Many online users admit they hadn't, until now. There's even talk that ribs sit higher than they used to. Could this explain recent unexplained aches or discomfort? Or is it all in our heads? One Reddit user shared a surprising revelation. They learned to find their kidneys by putting their hands on their hips and using their thumbs to guide them. But now, anatomical diagrams show kidneys tucked behind the ribcage, much closer to the stomach. This user even remarked that their kidneys seemed much farther from the spine than they remembered. Sounds bizarre, right? According to medical experts, there's no mystery here. Our kidneys have always been located behind the ribcage for protection. It's basic biology. Surgeons and doctors agree that nothing about our internal anatomy has changed, no matter how strange it might feel. World map under scrutiny. Let me take you on a little mental journey, one that's part geography lesson, part mystery, and a whole lot of wait, what? Have you ever looked at a map and thought, hold up, something feels off here? Well, let's talk about Italy, specifically Sicily, and how it has people scratching their heads and questioning reality. First off, did you know Sicily is the biggest island in the Mediterranean? Yep, it's not just big, it's also densely populated and has a rich, fascinating history. Picture this, Sicily is like the toe of Italy's famous boot-shaped landmass. Or, as some people like to say, it looks like a soccer ball being kicked by that boot. Fun, right? But here's the kicker. Some folks swear that Sicily used to be much further away from mainland Italy. They claim it wasn't just a 2-mile hop across the Strait of Messina as it is now, but noticeably farther. By the way, do you remember Italy's shape being described as a boot when you were younger? It's hard to forget something like that, but the strange part is how Sicily's position is tied to something called the Mandela Effect. Ever heard of it? It's when a group of people vividly remembers something differently than how it actually is. Some believe it's just human memory playing tricks. Others, they think the world's been quietly shifting under our noses, like literally. Sicily isn't the only place that sparked this kind of debate. Think about New Zealand. Some people say it's not where they remember it being. Or that Australia used to sit all alone in the ocean, far from Indonesia. And what about Africa? Does it seem bigger to you now than it used to? Or maybe you've noticed South America leaning more east than your childhood geography books showed. People have even questioned Madagascar's location and Russia's size. It's like our planet is playing a massive game of spot the difference. Now let's get back to Sicily's story for a minute, because it's a good one. This island has been a hotspot for human settlement for over 10,000 years. Ancient merchants came and went, leaving behind traces of their cultures. Ever wondered where Sicily got its name? It's named after the Seculi people, even though they weren't the first inhabitants. Over the centuries, Sicily was a prime spot for empires to claim. The Romans snatched it up in the 3rd century BC, making it their very first province. Then came the Byzantines, Arabs, Normans, and Bourbons. By 1861, Sicily was liberated and officially joined modern Italy. In 1947, the island gained some regional autonomy. Today, Sicily's a blend of the old and the new. It's industrialized with oil refineries and chemical plants, but it's also famous for winemaking, shipbuilding, and even salt extraction. And let's not forget the food. Ever tried Sicilian cuisine? If not, you're seriously missing out. But coming back to that odd map mystery, Why do you think people feel so strongly about landmasses being in the wrong place? Is it just fuzzy memory? Or could there be something deeper at play? Whether you're a skeptic or a believer in the Mandela effect, one thing's for sure: it makes us question what we think we know about the world. Secrets of the North Pole. Did you know the North Pole isn't a chunk of land? Many people are surprised to learn this. Instead of solid ground, the North Pole is basically a massive sheet of floating ice, kind of like a giant iceberg. Depending on where you are, the ice is usually between 6 and 10 feet thick. And guess what's under that ice? Ocean. Just water for about 13,400 feet until you hit the seabed. The mystery of the North Pole has fascinated explorers for centuries. One of the earliest attempts to reach it was made by William Edward Parry back in 1827, but he didn't make it. Other adventurers tried too, but starvation, frostbite, disease, and sheer bad luck made the journey nearly impossible. It wasn't until 1926 that Roald Amundsen managed to reach the pole using an airship. Still, some historians argue that Frederick Cook or Robert Peary might have beaten him to it in 1908. Why isn't that confirmed? Their records were such a mess that it's impossible to be sure. Here's another mind-blowing fact. The North Pole experiences just one sunrise and one sunset per year. Why? Because it's at the very top of the Earth, its position relative to the Sun doesn't change much. So when the sun rises in March, it stays up for 6 months straight. Then in September it sets, plunging the area into 6 months of darkness. Despite the harsh conditions, temperatures can drop to -40 degrees Fahrenheit. People run a marathon there every year. Yes, a marathon. Participants brave the freezing cold to run 26.2 miles over snow and ice. Now, let's talk about the Mandela effect. Some people are absolutely convinced they were taught in school that the North Pole is a continent. That's not true. It's never been a continent. Others swear they've seen maps where the North Pole looked completely different. But here's the thing. The ice at the pole is always shifting, so maps don't show it in much detail. Plus, updating maps to reflect the ice's exact shape every year would be ridiculously expensive. Another surprise for many folks is how close the North Pole is to other continents. It's not some isolated, faraway place. It's relatively near Greenland, Canada, Alaska, and even Norway. Next time you check out a map or an atlas, see for yourself. It might change how you imagine the top of the world. American treasure with twist. John Goodman is more than just an actor. He's a beloved figure in American entertainment. A man who has made us laugh, cry, and everything in between. You probably know him as Dan Connor from Roseanne, but his career is a lot bigger than that. Ever wondered how someone like him got started? Goodman was born in Afton, Missouri, but his early years weren't exactly easy. When he was just 2, his father, a postal worker, passed away from a heart attack. Losing a parent at such a young age left him quiet and withdrawn. Things got tougher when his older brother left for college, leaving Goodman to face childhood bullying. He found some comfort in Boy Scouts, where he learned discipline and structure, something he was missing at home. Did you know he was a huge comic book fan as a kid? He loved flipping through his brother's Mad magazines so much that he even admitted to shoplifting a few when he couldn't afford them. Can you imagine John Goodman as a mischievous kid sneaking comics out of a store? Comedy had its grip on him early, and it would play a big role in shaping his future. Goodman's road to fame didn't start with acting. It started with football. He got a scholarship to Missouri State University, but never played a single game due to an injury. That setback turned out to be a blessing in disguise because it led him to the theater. He studied drama alongside future stars like Kathleen Turner and Tess Harper, eventually earning a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree in 1975. After graduation, he made the bold move to New York City to chase his dream. Like many struggling actors, he started with commercials, voiceovers, and stage plays. His big screen debut came in 1982 with the movie Run, but his breakout moment was in 1986 with the film True Stories. Who could forget his iconic line, "I'm 6 feet 3 inches and maintain a consistent panda bear shape"? Classic Goodman. His deep, warm voice has made him a go-to for voiceover roles. Remember Patcher in The Emperor's New Groove or Sully from Monsters, Inc.? Yep, That's him. He's even the voice of Robot Santa Claus in Futurama and was the voice of Dunkin' Donuts commercials in the 2000s. It's safe to say his voice is as famous as his face. Here's a fun question. If you had to pick, would you rather see Goodman on screen or hear him as an animated character? Tough call, right? Despite being alive and well, some people are convinced John Goodman passed away years ago, either in 2014 or 2015. Why? Some mistakenly think he suffered a heart attack while working on an animated movie. Others confuse him with John Candy, another larger-than-life actor who passed away in 1994. And let's not forget the confusion from Roseanne, where his character Dan Connor died of a heart attack on the show. Goodman has also been the target of numerous death hoaxes over the years. It's strange how rumors can stick, isn't it? Here he is, still doing what he does best. Acting, voicing iconic characters, and making us smile. Birth of trip hop. Massive Attack isn't just a band, they're a revolution in music. Often credited with creating the genre we now call trip hop, this group changed the game in the 1990s, blending elements of hip-hop, reggae, jazz, and rap to create something entirely fresh. But did you know their journey started way back in the mid-1980s in Bristol, England? Let's uncover how they became a global sensation and a source of one curious Mandela effect. In the mid-80s, when dance music was booming in England, three music enthusiasts came together. Robert Del Naja, also known as Delge, Grant Marshall, aka Daddy G, and Andrew Vowles, known as Mushroom. Their story is almost like fate. Mushroom once shared how it all began. Daddy G gave him a membership card to a club called The Dugout when he was just 15. That card gave him access to see amazing hip-hop groups like the Wild Bunch. He was so inspired by their music that he began following their tours. Daddy G and Delge, members of the Wild Bunch, soon recognized Mushroom's talent for mixing and brought him into their fold. When other members of the Wild Bunch left to explore new ventures, the trio formed Massive Attack in 1988, marking the start of their journey into music history. Massive Attack didn't waste time making waves. Their debut album, Blue Lines, came out shortly after they formed, featuring the legendary track Unfinished Sympathy. This song, with vocals by Shara Nelson, became an instant classic. But here's a fun tidbit. Delge later admitted that the song's arrangement came about by accident. Mushroom was mixing music, Shara was singing Kiss and Tell, and nothing seemed to click until they added keyboards. Suddenly, everything fell into place. That debut album quickly became a staple in clubs across the UK. Massive Attack was officially on the map. Their next album, Protection, 1994, introduced new talent, with Tracy Thorn stepping in for Shara Nelson. Then came Mezzanine in 1998, an album many still regard as their masterpiece. However, the group started to splinter after that. Mushroom left in 1999, and Daddy G took a sabbatical during the production of their fourth album, 100th Window. Though the album received mixed reviews, it kept their name alive. Massive Attack released their last studio album in 2010. Despite the lineup changes over the years, Delge and Daddy G remain at the heart of the group, still performing and keeping their music alive. Here's a thought. Which Massive Attack album do you think best defines their legacy? Blue Lines with its fresh innovation, or Mezzanine with its dark, atmospheric vibe? Now, let's talk about the puzzling Mandela effect tied to Massive Attack. For years, fans thought their famous track was called Unfinished Symphony. One man, a longtime fan, was shocked to realize the song's real title is Unfinished Sympathy. He wasn't alone. Many others swore the title had changed, claiming it was proof of a shift in reality. The likely explanation? People might have mixed it up with the Verve's popular song Bittersweet Symphony. Or maybe they just misread it for years and never noticed. Truth behind Bob Marley myths. When you think of Bob Marley, you probably picture a reggae icon whose music transcended generations and borders. But did you know his life, and even his passing, has sparked several Mandela Effect debates? From how he died to the origins of certain songs, it seems Marley's legacy is surrounded by some pretty wild misconceptions. Let's break it all down. Here's the first mystery. Some people swear that Bob Marley was assassinated back in 1976. They claim 7 men broke into his house in Kingston, Jamaica, and ended his life. Sounds dramatic, right? Well, the truth is less grim. That event really did happen, but Marley wasn't killed. He was shot in the shoulder, and 4 others in the house were also injured. Miraculously, everyone survived. So why the attack? Many believe it was political. Marley was seen as a supporter of the People's National Party, and rumors suggested the Jamaican Labour Party might have been behind the attempt. But no one was ever charged, and the exact motives remain a mystery. Here's a question. How would Marley's story and reggae music be different if he hadn't survived that attack? Another misconception: the circumstances of his death. Some people think Marley died in his 40s or 50s, maybe even in a car accident in Jamaica. The reality? He passed away in 1981 at just 36 years old from melanoma, a form of skin cancer. Here's the strange part. When Marley first noticed an issue under one of his toenails, the doctor dismissed it as a soccer injury. By the time the truth was discovered, the cancer had spread. Marley agreed to have the malignant tissue removed, with skin from his thigh grafted to the area, but he refused further treatment. Without it, his condition worsened until he passed away. It's heartbreaking to think his life was cut short so young. Do you think Marley's music would have taken an even bigger direction if he'd lived longer? This one might make you double take. Some people believe that I Shot the Sheriff was written by Eric Clapton. While Clapton's cover of the song is famous, the original was 100% written and performed by Marley. Clapton loved the track so much that he made it his own, and it became a hit worldwide. So it's easy to see how people get this one mixed up. Now, this Mandela effect really gets people talking. You know the song Bad Boys, the one that goes bad boys, what you gonna do? Many people think Marley wrote and performed it. But the truth? It was written by the band Inner Circle, also from Jamaica. Marley had nothing to do with it. What's even weirder is that Bad Boys doesn't sound like Marley's style at all. The vocals don't match his unique voice either, yet some fans are convinced he sang it. One Reddit user shared how they and their girlfriend were stunned to learn the truth after years of thinking it was Marley's song. The fact that Marley passed away 6 years before Bad Boys was even written makes it pretty clear he couldn't have performed it. Do you think people associate Marley with the song because of its Jamaican roots? Or is it just one of those weird memory glitches? Surprising history of Totino's pizza rolls. Who would have thought pizza rolls have been around since 1968? That's right, these little frozen snacks have been part of our lives for decades. But their story isn't just about cheesy goodness. It's a tale of creativity, business smarts, and even a little confusion. Ever wondered how something as simple as a pizza roll became such a big deal? Back in 1968, a man named Gino Paolucci had an egg roll wrapping machine and a big idea. He figured out how to turn it into a pizza roll-making machine, and just like that, a new snack was born. He started selling his creations under the name Gino's Pizza Rolls, and they quickly became popular. But Gino wasn't the only one thinking outside the box when it came to pizza. Its story starts with a couple, Jim and Rose Totino, who opened a pizzeria in Minneapolis, Minnesota. What began as a small takeout place exploded into a full-blown sit-down restaurant, serving up to 500 pizzas a day. Crazy, right? And get this, when Rose first approached a loan officer for $1,500 to open the restaurant, the man had never even heard of pizza. She baked him one to try, and he was so impressed he approved the loan on the spot. Their success didn't stop there. Jim and Rose launched a frozen pizza business called Totino's Finer Foods, and it was a huge hit. By 1975, they sold the company to Pillsbury, with Rose becoming the first corporate vice president in the company's history. That's pretty groundbreaking. In 1985, Gino Paolucci sold his pizza roll business to Pillsbury too, and it was rebranded under Totino's name. That's when things took off. Pillsbury even patented a crisp crust technology in 1979, making sure the pizza rolls stayed crispy after being frozen. Now, it is the top frozen pizza brand in the country. Here's a fun question. Do you think pizza rolls would be as popular today if Gino hadn't thought to use his egg roll machine in such a creative way? Now for the twist of the Mandela effect. If you've ever bought Totino's pizza rolls, You might have wondered about the name. Does it have an extra S? Many people are convinced it used to be Totino's, with an extra S at the end, like Totino's. Sounds weird, right? One man even realized this spelling error when his wife wrote Totino's on a shopping list. He grabbed a pack at the store and noticed it didn't match what they thought. This sparked a frenzy online, with others swearing they remembered the name differently, only to find no evidence it ever had the extra S. Why do you think so many people misremember the name? Is it just a shared false memory, or does it feel like something bigger is going on? In 1981, Jim Totino passed, and Rose followed in 1994. In 2008, Rose was inducted into the Minnesota Inventor Hall of Fame for her contributions to frozen pizza. Thanks to their hard work and Gino's innovation, Totino's pizza rolls have become a freezer staple. Well, that's it for today. Which one blew your mind the most? Drop your thoughts below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more enjoyable journeys into the unexplained. Catch you in the next one.